Welcome back. Once again, it is time for the Golden Age DC Comics 365 Days, where I take this well-loved hardcover coffee table book given to me about 2 decades ago by one of my best friends, and that's been surfing my coffee table ever since, giving us the excuse to talk about comic books every day, once a day, all year long. We're doing it old school today. Ha ha ha! Let's see what we got today. As I said, this very book has been surfing my coffee table for about 2 decades. And it's literally filled my life full of really good conversation. Comic book shop style conversation. You know, it's easy. This 2004 Abrams publication, written and curated by Les Daniels, Chip Kidd, with photographs by Jeff Spear. This wonderful 2004 hardcover. It's been a great conversation piece, and it's been on my coffee table. There are, as I like to say every day, you know, welcome to the Comics Coffee Table. What's the etymology of the coffee table here on our show here? Our Comics Coffee Table? How do we meet here at a coffee table? Well, the coffee table was always where my friends and I would congregate, hang out, chew the fat, shoot the breeze. There would always be a stack of movies. A stack of movies. I mean, there would be a stack of books. I mean, shaking the camera. But yeah, this is a coffee table. What's on our coffee table? We got, yeah. Have you heard of the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker? Exactly. Or is it? Exactly. And there would be a stack of video games, a stack of music. There would be a stack of comic books as well. We're always trying to get each other to read. A stack of comic books. We'll get back to this. Taking a quick detour. We're on foot right now. How we always have done the show. It's unfiltered, unscripted, unedited. You know, I've only recently found the pause button last year, which is a real big help. It really does. But the pause button's the closest thing I get to editing. Stream of consciousness from the hip with copious amounts of show notes by my executive producer, a stuffed animal. This is a pre-recorded show, but it's pre-recorded live before... I like saying that. I just think it sounds fun. Pre-recorded live before a studio audience of my stuffed animals from our Boston studios. The Comics Coffee Table. And so, yeah, this was on my coffee table for about 2 decades, almost 2 decades as well. Seriously, friends would come over, open up this book, and we would have a conversation. They would thumb through it. It's a great info dump into a certain age of America and of publication, of print publications, of the news medium of print, you know, and the media itself. It was, you know, there would be like, was radio, cinema, print publications, novels, hardcovers, paperbacks, and periodicals, magazines, weeklies, monthlies, newspapers. You know, this was the golden age. The golden age of DC Comics runs between 1938 and 1955. The silver age between 1956 and 1970. The bronze age, I'm a bronze age baby myself, between 1970 and 1984. The copper age between 1984 and 1993. And we've been in some nebulous catch-all modern age from 1993 until this very moment. Agree or disagree with those standards, you must respect them, for they come from the glossary of the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide, and this is an industry standard, so I am willing to accept those definitions. Indeed, huh? Exactly. Great publication. You can find a link for the Overstreet guides in the description, along with a link to a really cool local comic book shop. It's quite literally on the other side of the continent to me. But still, this is a local comic book shop that would like your business too. So if you want, maybe you can order these from Fantastic Comics and they can mail it to you. You could do that, yeah, with a couple of back issues. These are great. These are great. I would tell this to get any comic book fan to get these. But let's get to it. Yeah, being a source of great comic book conversation, we would open up to today's date. We would look at some comic book art of an antediluvian age. We would read the blurb, and then we'd proceed to talk about comic books. And guess what? We're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. That's the old show. That's the new show. That's the future show. That's what the show is all about. That's what the comics coffee table is all about. So, yeah, the coffee table. It's where it's at. Yeah. Oof. Good cuppa. I hope that you're clobbering your problems and not being clobbered by them. Today is July the 8th. Mad scientist! I love this. Maybe I'll read this in a mad scientist voice again. July 8th. This is story by Bill Finger, pencils by Bob Kane, inks by Jerry Robinson and George Rousseau. It's from Batman number 8. December 1941, January of 1942. This is the cover date. So its shelf date would have been about 3 months before that. So although World War II has been going on in Europe since 1939, the U.S. has not officially entered World War II because Pearl Harbor happens December the 7th of 1941. Therefore, this magazine came out shortly before it. Just to give you a little insight into U.S. history, because this is a great way to learn about U.S. history. And this new age of a modern mythology, an American mythology, pretty much divorced from, the Christianity that, is part and parcel with the culture, the 18th, 19th, and 20th century ideas of America. Whether or not that notion is going forward, in the 21st century and beyond, history will tell. But this is a modern pantheon of gods and goddesses, more like the Egyptians, the Toltecs, or the Mayans. Some would believe that there are yet those up there who even now fight. Sorry, that's from Battlestar Galactica, 1978, the opening. But the other mythologies of the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans who ripped off the Greeks, and maybe the Greeks who ripped off the Egyptians, or even just India, the Hindu tradition, or even like Japanese creation myth. There are gods and goddesses chasing each other in the sky, men and women in romances and creation myths. I mean, if you ever get a chance, read the Gilgamesh. I just recently did, and there's a lot to it that's still being retold today. Indeed, I love stories. And let's look at some comic book art from an antediluvian age. This is a page from a Batman funny book. This is a photograph of a page. So it's a segment. And we are allowed here, we have 10 panels. 10 sequential panels. And I believed that we must read that center circle in the middle of that. So we go 3 across, then we go 1, 2 up, down, and then we go 1, 2 in the center, and then 1, 2 up, down. I think, if you're following me. But let's read the blurb, and then we're going to talk about comic books. July 8th. Mad scientists made attractive antagonists for superheroes who were not fairly matched against ordinary criminals. Superman's Lex Luthor and Captain Marvel's Dr. Sivana were exceptional examples whose ingenuity transcend genre expectations. They had a new idea every week. More typical was Professor Radium, seen here having an epiphany. I'm mad! Ha ha ha! I'm crazy! Oh, I hope that doesn't get clipped. I'm trying to defeat death with radioactivity. Professor Radium revives himself, but finds that his touch is lethal. Somewhat of an anti-Midas touch. Or actually, the Midas touch was lethal, wasn't it? Wasn't it now? That his touch is fatal. Writers threatened to bring him back, but he dwindled into obscurity instead. The most memorable thing about Radium's sole appearance is this unusual arrangement of panels. So yeah, how do we read a panel sequence? We read it, and the Western audience reads things from left to right. So if you were a Japanese reader, you would naturally want to read these panels like this, what we would consider a reverse. We got the, I like to use this example. We'll come right back to that. In Scott McCloud's famous Understanding Comics, The Invisible Art, great book. There are links in the description for this as well, and this book. Check them out. They make great. They'll look great on your table, and you can play along at home. And it makes great gifts for geeks. I know, because these have been both gifted to me by the same person. Now see this. That's the power of sequential art. That is a man or a person. That is what seems to be a human, a line art, simple line art of a human taking off a top hat. Now, as I like to say, a native Japanese manga reader would read this as a person putting a hat on. So that's and that's a cultural expectation, and that's just developed over the years. How does the eye follow the comic book page? That's something that developed, pretty quickly. But it all stems from left to right. Indeed. Meanwhile, a dreadful change comes over Professor Ross. He is now known as Professor Radium. We can see in the sequence there's Batman and Robin. They're questioning somebody. There's a guy with green hands and a yellow slicker and a hat. That looks a lot like Jim Carrey's The Mask, to be honest with you. Indeed. So, we unfortunately get the top cropped off, but let's think show, don't tell. What's going on here? So I believe that's the police cruiser and 3 cops in silhouette up the lane a bit, and this guy with the green skin is hiding around a corner, waiting for their big chance to run. The newspaper is supposed to evoke, the alert, the headlines, and then we have the mad scientist. It's the radium! I'm going mad! Oh boy, it was a simpler time, huh? Yeah. And that's the golden age of DC Comics. I'm proud to say that's how we started the show this time last year. Let's look this up real quick. Come on, Pika, you're supposed to be helping me out here, being the executive producer, executive producing, and such things such as that. Ooh, all right. How to get into comics, July 8th, this from last year. The golden age of DC Comics, 365 days. That got 39 views. That's good for this little growing channel. We were just starting to come into our own, just building. We're a small channel. We just kind of opened for business a couple of months. We were a couple of months in, and I got 39 views that day. That was good for that. It was a 13-minute long and 2-second long video, and because the ones around it, the day before, got 9 views. And, a couple of days later on July 11th, I got 8 views, and hopefully some of you were here for that. Most of you probably weren't because, we were just starting off. And July 1st, I had 8 views. And most of them, they're just in under 20 views, under 15 views or so. One of them's got 17 views. That's oh, and in the middle of it all, I went to Kineticon. Oh, memory lane. Isn't that cute? Yeah, I'm looking at the entire month of July real quick, and we don't get over 20 views. 17 views was the most we got in July last year, and we've come a long way, and that's because of you guys. Cheers to you. Cheers with whatever it is you're shoving under your nose today. Awesome. Yeah, and that's how the show started. We did the daily of this 365 days book. It's a really good thing, and like I said, you can get your own copy, and you can get a used copy. You can give a second chance to a good book. You know, I've been getting used books a lot lately because it's cheaper, and literally, you know, you're giving a second life to an old friend. You know, I dig that. I like books. I do. Alrighty, well, let's get back to it. This year's show. Glory days, they'll pass you by. This year, because that was last year's show. That was 365 days of daily content. Comic book shop style conversations. Once a day, every day, all year long. We've kept it going. So far this year, it's I'm not going to say, sometimes it's tough. Some days are tougher than others. But once we start having this conversation, once the words start coming out, once we get our hands on some floppies, things just start to fall into place. And looking forward to Blackest Night being over and moving on to something else, to be honest with you. Hopefully you are too. But I got to get this done. I was thinking about just switching over to something else. But no, just let's get it done. Boom. And let's move on to another character, another world, another place, another time. Because, you know, one of the big fun parts about looking at these, by the way, old bag, take one and stuff it full of other old bags. This way, you don't drop them on the floor and you don't slip and fall on your butt. And, you know, the older we get, the more brittle we get. And so, you know, I don't know if my body can handle any more falls like that. Seriously. I'm like, it's best to, you know, be a bit safer. We got Blackest Night number 4. This is from December of 2009. Jeff Johns, Ivan Rice, or is it Reese? Eau Claire Alper, and Joe Prado. And we can see here, yep, 00411. Meaning that's the 4th issue, and it's the first cover, and it's the first printing. Whatever that's worth. You know what I mean? I wonder what that means. Oh yeah, that's right. 47. See 047. This is issue 47. So that's the first 3 numbers. So 004 and this means issue 4, which it is. 11 means for the first cover and first printing. So yeah, same thing here. That's just I like that. I like information. I like learning. And look, we've already been yes with Batman. Yay! Power levels 100. We've gotten to it. We've filled up the Black Lantern. The Black Lantern is look at it. It's captured all of the Guardians. Oh no! What's going on here? And this is the revelation of our big bad. Who is orchestrating this entire thing? Who's been pulling the strings on Black Hand and the Guardian Scar? This is Necron. I don't know who Necron is. Next, what is Necron? Necron. Well, we'll find out in the book, but that's a really awesome splash page. Let's see. Oh, we had another World's Finest that came out back then. Sterling Gates. Wow. That's a name from the past. A 4-issue limited series. The Next Generation. I wonder if what's stuck. It looks like, well, because Supergirl is Supergirl. But this Stephanie Brown Batgirl, she's got her colors of spoiler in there with the purple with purple and gold, but and I just love the design of this bat suit. I love Stephanie Brown's look here. I really do. That's like one of my favorite bat alternates. Oh, and we got we got Phil Notto, and we got Batman with guns. Sure, yeah. Abin Sur returns. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see. We've got all the black lanterns fighting all the other lanterns. And the lanterns have to figure out very quickly that they have to team up, regardless of their regardless of what their leanings are, what their bias is, of where they stand ideologically or motivationally. They have to fight together. They're gonna have to put their differences aside, and they're gonna have to team up. That's one of the best. I think it's one of the best lessons we can get from this fiction. And see, we figure it out right here. Like, boom, we got the indigo, the yellow, the green, and the violet of Star Sapphire, and boom, we have figured it out. All right, now if we can only get along long enough to save the universe in existence. Video game ads. What happened to video game ads in comic books? I mean, I was talking about it on Wes's show earlier today. Thinking Critical, Comics Aficionados. We had a great show today. Hope you got to tune in. Comics Aficionados. I got the T-shirt because I paid for it too. I didn't get a discount. I bought it. I got a couple. I'm on the show enough. I'm gonna pimp it. So thank you, Wes, for having me on. Go subscribe to Wes at Thinking Critical. I'll leave his link in the description too. And you can check out his Saturday show. He does weekly content, but then Saturday he's got a weekly roundup show, a panel show with him, his co-host, the Doc, and then he's got 4 panels seats open, and they revolve. And he's invited me pretty much a year now or so. I'm very blessed and honored to be part of that community, and he's helped my channel grow a lot. You could be here because Wes sent you. There's a good chance of that. I seen you in the live chat over at his place too, and God bless you. Thank you so much for coming here too. And look, the team up of the orange and the blue. Oh, look at this. Is this the Gene Authority? No. Oh my gosh. What was it? Mark Bernardin and Adam Freeman. Wow. Wildcats. The Adam Beach and Tim Seeley. A cover art by George Perez. Jeez, I forgot all about this. Seriously. This is where the heat gets turned up. Look at this art. This is great. Doug Mankey art. So cool. And thank you for taking some time out of your day to take your mind off your mind and have a coffee break with us. We're just hanging out, talking about comic books. We're rebagging, reboarding, reboxing my entire collection. So this slice of what we've been going on for maybe a couple of weeks now has been my Green Lantern collection, and specifically my Green Lanterns of the early 20th century, starting with issue 5 of Green Lantern Rebirth, written by Jeff Johns, illustrated by Ethan Van Sciver, which created the volume 4 of Green Lantern in 2005-2006. That went through a lot of good stories, all written by Jeff Johns, with some of the premier Omega level artists of it today. Yes, and this is creepy as all hell. Remember we said all the kids that Cradle stole? The Cradle is the child robbing Yellow Lantern. Of course, Cradle strikes great fear into people. I mean, especially parents of infants. Cradle was a nightmare story. Cradle was real. Here's Necron Rises. Whoa, Blackest Night, number 5 of 8. We're getting closer to the end. Okay. And don't worry, the JLA, you always got Titans to back you up. I mean, that's one thing, like, one thing that there was in the whole thing about Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths was Avatar, the video game. Look, Kingdom Hearts, the video game. They don't advertise video games much anymore in the books. I just think what a great Bart Allen face as Kid Flash. I liked Bart as Kid Flash. It's good that they de-aged him a little bit and gave him back Impulse, but he really grew up to be Kid Flash. He went from like an annoying 11-year-old kid to a pretty much, fast, ADD kind of attention span 13, 14-year-older, but who was on the track. You could see him that like he made the turn and he was definitely using, growing up and soundly with great mentors and family around him. Look, another video game ad. So yeah, we were talking about Wes on Thinking Critical earlier today. Like I brought it up. I said, like, what happened to advertisements in modern comic books? I'm saying we're going over Blackest Night on my channel, our channel here at our coffee table, and all the ads were like junk food, cars, video games. Like what? It's if comic books are lying to themselves about who their audience is. And I think you can, here we go. And what I suss out is who is a comic book made for? You can tell from the advertisements. I mean, I think that's pretty simple, to be honest. That's pretty, it's like a no-brainer. I was like, you have to be really, like, I think disingenuous to be like, oh, well, no, there could be a couple of other mitigating factors involved with, like, and this and that and the other thing and, blah, 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 all down the line. No! Look at the advertisements in your comic books. That's who they were made for. And, but yeah, the skull that he's been carrying around all that time. Here comes the big reveal. Here's Bruce Wayne of Earth. Rise. And then we get this really cool looking zombie Batman, Black Lantern Batman, but this is a ruse. That's why I was saying MacGuffin. This goes nowhere. What does he do this for? But it's about the emotional tethering, because most of all of these heroes have died in the past. Everyone is getting a Black Lantern ring made from their emotional connection to Bruce Wayne. And then, once that is all set, you have served your purpose, quote unquote, Bruce Wayne, back to rest, connection severed, and the usefulness of that zombie is done. Because he zombified all the returned. And of course, Hal and Barry are on that list too. This is fun. I mean, this was a really fun story. High stakes. I mean, we know that everything's going to end okay because the story must go on, but they are allowed to kill off characters in between and here and there, and that's happens. And but these are oh boy, yeah, Blackest Night action figures. Here we are. Actually, I dig that Kyle one. That's really cool. Larfleeze is pretty good too. Yeah, that's Cradle right there. See, with the cage on her back, and she steals infants. Yeah, she's so creepy. Jeff Johns was doing really good does really good with creepy bad guys. You might remember from a couple of months ago, for the new releases, I bought all three of his Scott Snyder and not Scott Snyder. It was Scott. I'm getting Scott Snyder and Jeff Johns confused. That's my bad. I'm thinking something else. Night of the Ghoul by Scott Snyder with Francisco Francavilla on Dark Horse Comics, which was amazing. Not written by Jeff Johns. Okay, Chapter and going on to more. But yeah, look, ads. It's bad. We got video game ads. Look, video game ads. So I don't think that comics are lying to us. They're lying to themselves. They're misrepresenting themselves to themselves, and they're really, they're using. And look, Kia Motors is a car ad, sure. But I think they're lying to themselves. See, there's a traditional market for this product, and I just think it's a willful ignorance to be like, oh no, we need to make these advertisements more neutral and accessible to a broader spectrum of humanity that's going to want to buy more product. And I'm like, well, you had it before, and it's easy to go back to it. Let's see. Look, more video game ads. I haven't even heard of this game, but still. I mean, maybe you're a gamer. Maybe you're a young person and gaming's your thing. Ugh. Some really good. Some Kilowog kick-ass scenes. All the babies that the Cradle stole. Aw, that is so Stephen King level gross. That really is. Congratulations. I wonder who made that part up, because that's Tomasi. Wow. Uh-oh, are we out of bags? We're out of bags. That's okay. I get my supplies at my local comic book shop. I do. It's my way of help. It's time to go back to our local stores. I mean, I'm reboxing, rebagging, and reboarding my entire collection. I need new supplies. Chances are you do too. But I'm getting mine through my local comic book shop. I refuse to order. Okay, not much. I got one thing online through Amazon, but it was because it was the right price, and it was I really needed it. It was issue number 1 of Howard Chaykin's The Shadow from 1986. See, I bought a complete run of the 87 Shadow DC Comics from eBay for a great price, like $50 for like 39 comics, but they threw in 2, 3, and 4 of the Chaykin run that precedes that. And I'm like, now I gotta go get issue 1, and so I did. And I was just gonna say, hey, you're fine with that choice. Go, boom, and here, in you go. Blackest Night. Oh, and now we are starting crossovers on top here. I mean, now we have the trade dress on top of Adventure Comics. Now, this is good. I enjoyed the hell out of this because I love Superboy Prime as a character. We'll get into more about this on Monday, because tomorrow, maybe even tomorrow, because we don't have a lot of new releases to talk about. Maybe we'll get into the old book again. Do it old-fashioned ways. Look, video games. Video games. I mean, I just think, am I part of this deception about not being honest with oneself? I mean, they are corporations. They're just lying entities out to get your money, right? But I mean, it's just like I really feel that being a fan of old comics from the late 70s and the mid to late 70s up until today, the proof of the pudding is on the plate, is in the advertisements of your periodical. This is a serialized print publication. It's got a UPC code on it. It's got an indicia. It's got a masthead. It might even have a table of contents as well if it's a thicker monthly magazine, But all the same, these are periodicals. They're advertisements. Are you're going to see the same coterie of advertisements in an issue of Cosmopolitan, Mademoiselle, of Ms., maybe even, one of the, Teen Cosmo. I mean, I wonder what Teen Cosmo's ads look like, and are they consistent through the publication history of the periodical? I mean, why the inconsistency with comic books? Why the denial that it's not made for just it's fans of its own hobby, of its own you-ness, or usness? You know what I'm getting at. Hopefully, if you don't, let's talk about it some more. Leave a comment in the comment section. Keep this comic book conversation continuing. We've been talking about comic books, and we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. So thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, you saw me on Wes earlier, hey, come aboard. We talk about comic books every day, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, daily. Indeed. We also talk about cooking, spirituality, and mostly comic books, but we got a couple of other cool things going on here too. God bless, namaste, good luck, and we will see you again tomorrow in those funny pages. Ciao, bye-bye.